Let me preface this story by saying that I was quite young at the time, and this story happened a good number of years ago. And I have definitely since learned from the mistakes that I probably made in this situation. So if you listen to the story and find yourself thinking like, girl, are you stupid? Girl, I've learned from the situation. So jumping right into it, so like I said, this happened a couple years ago. I think I was like 19, 20 at the time, and I was working my first job as a cashier. And so I was working a night shift. And this was actually before I had gotten my first vehicle. So I used to do like cabs or Ubers to get home to and from work. So I was working pretty late that night. I think I ended up calling the cab at about like maybe 10:30, 11 p.m. And they took a good while to finally show up. This was a cab company that I very frequently used. I think I'd been using it for years at that point. And when the cab finally pulled up and I got inside, the first thing that I noticed that I thought was quite odd was that the cab driver was a woman. It was a young woman. And that was very odd to me because, like I said, I had been using this cab company for years. And every single time that I've used one of their cabs, it was just always a male driver. So I just found it, odd that it was a woman. And so, of course, thinking back in retrospect, I have always, watch stories on here about people's like, almost trafficked or trafficking incidents, just to inform myself about the tactics. And one thing that I have commonly heard is that traffickers will tend to use women to lure in other women. Of course, because a woman has the tendency to trust another woman, obviously more than we would want to trust a man, right? So that's something that just stuck out to me with this situation. So, of course, that was something that I noticed, but listen, like I was just getting off of an 8-hour shift. It's like 11 p.m. at this point. I'm tired as hell, and so I'm not thinking too much of it. So I get in the cab, and, I remember I said hi to her. I think I said, like, hi, how are you? And I remember she said nothing at all, which I also found very odd, like, she said nothing to me basically this entire cab ride. So we start driving, and maybe about 5 minutes into us driving, she starts blasting the loudest rap music in the car, which again, I've drove in this particular cab company so many times, and they usually don't do stuff like that. They usually are very like professional, and she just wasn't. Like, she was blasting the loudest rap music. I remember she was like playing Little Durk and she was just like rapping along to it at the top of her fucking lungs. The music was so loud, and I just remember sitting in the back seat like, what is going on right now? You know what I mean? Like, it was just very weird vibes. It was just off. But again, I'm so exhausted from the shift that I just worked, and I just want to get home. So I'm not thinking too much about it. I'm just like, whatever. Let me just ignore it and get home. So again, like I said, there are going to be some parts of the story where you're probably thinking like, girl, are you stupid? Because I was so freaking tired that night that I did start, like, I don't want to say I was dozing off in the back seat, but I did have a moment where I kind of just closed my eyes and, was just resting in the back seat. So I eventually start thinking to myself like, oh my God, there's a fucking bee in here. So eventually, as I'm sitting in the back seat and kind of dozing off, I eventually start thinking to myself like, this car ride seems to be going on for a lot longer than it should. This route does not take me this long. So I remember I had a moment where I opened my eyes and I looked out the window and I realized, like, I do not recognize this route. Like, I don't even know where we are. Or I think I did know where we were, but it just wasn't on the track to get to my house. So I was confused, right? I'm just like, where are we? Where is she going? But again, I'm so tired and I'm so, I just have to keep reiterating this throughout the story. Like, I was so tired that night. So I just wrote it off like, oh, maybe she's just going a different way that I've never went before. And like, it's all cool. So, I go back to chilling in the backseat. So the car ride just goes on and on and on, way longer than it should. She's still blasting this rap music. She's rapping at the top of her lungs. She's being super weird and unprofessional. And like I said, this whole entire time, she has not acknowledged me once. When I walked in the car, when I got in at my job, like I said hi to her. She said nothing. She never even looked at me. So I realized, like, I had never even gotten a good look at her face because she didn't even look back at me. It's like I wasn't even there. Like, it's like she was just in the car by herself. You would think that she was just driving in her own car during her own personal time. you would think that she forgot she had a passenger in the back seat because she was just living her best life. Like, she had no acknowledgement of me, and it was just so odd and such a weird vibe. So anyway, where was I at? So this car ride is going on for much longer than it should, and she is just, you know, living her best life, and I'm looking out the window at this point. At this point, I'm like awake, and I'm looking out the window because I'm trying to see, like, where are we going right now? Like, what route is she taking? Because I don't recognize this direction. I remember that this lady, when I say I've never seen someone take a more deliberate left turn, it was so deliberate. She hit this left turn at like a stoplight. I remember she was so deliberate when she hit this left turn. So we hit the left turn, and then this lady starts driving us through the gate of a, what do you call it? Like a storage unit. She starts driving into a storage unit. Mind you, this car ride has been going on for so long that it's damn near like 12:30 a.m. at this point. So it's dark as hell outside. The streets are empty. There's nobody around. It's quiet. It's dark. And we're like in the middle of the boonies. She starts driving through the gate of this storage unit. And that's when she finally, for the first time, actually acknowledged me. She drove through the gate. And then I remember she picked up her phone because I think she had like the GPS on her phone, or she pretended like she was pulling up the GPS. I think she was like pretending like she was pulling up her Google Maps on her phone. And then she grabs the phone. She looks back at me for the first time. She acknowledges me, that I'm in this car with her. And she's like, oh, I'm just really lost right now. Like, I've never driven around this side of town before. I'm really lost. I'm really confused. Like, is this your destination? Is this where you want to go? And I'm looking at this lady like she's effing stupid, because I'm like, what the hell do you mean, is this my destination? Like, we are in a literal fucking storage unit right now. Excuse my friend. But it's just like, you literally just drove me into a storage unit. Mind you, there's no lights. Like, just setting the scene, like, it's midnight. There's no lights around the storage unit. It's like pitch black. And I'm just looking at her like, what the heck are you talking about? So of course, at this point, all the alarms are going off in my head. And I literally look at her and I'm like, no, this is not my destination. Like, where are you going? What are you doing? And she proceeds to turn around, grab the wheel, and she keeps driving forward. So it's like, you drive through the gates here, and then there's like a long gravel road that just keeps going and going and going towards the you know, the storages of the storage unit, or what do you call them? Like the storage, whatever you want to call them, the storage containers. So she's just driving continuously down this gravelly road, this dark, pitch black gravelly road, driving towards the storage containers. Like, I'm getting goosebumps just remembering it. So, and this is what I want to say here. Ladies, women, if you are ever taking a cab, if you're taking a taxi, if you're taking an Uber, ever since this incident happened to me, anytime that I've ever needed to take an Uber or a cab again after this, I make sure that that child lock is not on, or get in the front seat. Either get in the front seat or make sure that there is no child lock on the back door. And make sure that your windows are able to roll down if need be. Make sure that you are always aware of how to exit the vehicle. Because every time I think back on this incident, I always think to myself, what would I do if that child lock was on the back door? Like, if I had no way to get out of that car, I think I always keep like a weapon on me. So I think I had a weapon on me if need be. Like, if the child lock was on, I was gonna have to like fight her inside of that freaking cab. So I'm continuously telling this lady, stop the car. This is not my destination. I don't know where you're going. No, this is not where I need to go. Like, I'm telling her, stop the car. And she is not listening to me. She is continuously driving down this road. So like I said, the alarms are going off in my head at this point. I think I officially had reached a point of like fight or flight. So I think I had an adrenaline rush, and I don't even remember when I had picked up all of my stuff out of the back seat. But at some point, I had apparently gathered all of my stuff out of the back seat because I had a couple things. I think I had like my bag, a water bottle. Like, I had a couple things scattered in the back seat. I don't remember when I picked all of it up. I'm surprised that I didn't accidentally leave something in there. But, and at this point, I had my door open, right? And she's steady driving. Like, she looks back and she sees me open the door, and and I'm telling her to stop the car. And she's like, the door is literally scraping against the gravel on the ground because she won't stop driving. So I gathered all my shit and I hopped out of that car so fast. I was running like a track star, y'all. I was running. I don't think I've ever ran so fast in my life. And mind you, she, like I said, like, you go through the gate. She drove through the gate, and then there's like a whole long gravelly road that you have to drive down to get down to those dark storage containers. And she seemed so adamant about driving us down to those storage containers. I was not about to allow her to drive me down there. So I hopped out that car. I ran so fast, but as fast as I was running, it took me like a good minute to reach back out of the gate because that's how far down she had driven us. She would not stop the car. And guys, like I said, I was in such a, like, I don't think I've ever been in an adrenaline rush until that moment. Like, I had called my mom at some point. I don't even remember when I did that. Like, at some point I had called my mom, which I probably shouldn't have, because all my mom heard on the phone was me, like, running. Like, she could just hear me running, and I think she said she heard me tell the lady, like, stop the car. So my mom's on the other end of the phone. She just hears me yelling, like, stop the car, and then she hears me running, and she doesn't know what's going on. So of course my mom starts panicking. Just such an insane situation. Like what the hell? Like, I just want to go home. Like, I just want to go home after my long, exhausting shift. Like, what is going on here? So I finally run and make it out of the gate, and I have no clue where I am. I'm in the pitch black in the middle of the night in this random place. I don't even know where I am. So I start looking around, and I see, like, as I'm looking down this block, there's like a neighborhood, because when I ran out the gate, there was nothing surrounding me but just woods. Like, it was just woods. There was no one around. There was no houses, no buildings. It was just woods. So scary. So as I'm looking down the block, though, I can see, like, down there's like houses and a neighborhood. So I start running towards that area. So I think I had, like, tried to stop, because I think, like, one or two people eventually drove past me, and I tried to, like, get their attention and stop them, but no one was stopping. So I just kept running toward where I'm seeing these houses down the block. And at some point as I'm running, I see the cab driver. She at some point had drove past me, and I remember she, like, just looked at me. She looked at me from the driver's seat, and then she just sped past me. I was like, whatever. Like, I wasn't paying her any mind. You guys, like, this is why I put a question mark in the title of this video, because it's like, you know, was it possible that this wasn't a trafficking, you know, incident? Of course, like, it's possible it wasn't. Like, it's possible that maybe she was just, you know, she was drunk or high, or she just genuinely was confused and didn't know where she was going. But was I about to take that risk? Was I about to take that risk to find out whether or not she was being honest? No, no. Like, I was getting the hell out of that car. So I get down to the neighborhood, and I would run past a house, and in the window of the house, I can see, like, a person standing in their kitchen through the window. So I'm like, okay, there's somebody in there that I can go and ask for help, or at least just ask them, like, what is the name of the street? What is the name of the city? Because I literally don't know where I am. So I see someone in the window in their kitchen. I go to the front yard to go knock on their door. But you guys, like, as if this night couldn't get any more ridiculous, this person had a deep ditch dug out in their front yard. And of course, it's so dark outside that I didn't see the ditch. So I'm like, I think I was still running. So I'm running through their front yard. I'm running through this person's front yard, and they have this deep ditch that is dug out in the dirt. And I fall into the ditch. I fall into this ditch, and then this person had like 1 million dogs. And because you know how dogs act whenever, like, somebody enters the front yard, they're just like, you know, dogs are really annoying. So I guess the dogs see me or hear me fall into this ditch, and they all come running out of the front door through the doggy door, and they all start jumping on me and attacking me. They were small dogs, so they, you know, whatever. Like, they were small dogs, but they all start jumping on me and attacking me and barking at me. And at this point, I'm just like, can this night get any more ridiculous? So at this point, I definitely start crying, because I'm just like, what is going on right now? Like, what is this day? I'm just like, I don't know what kind of luck that I had on this particular night, because it was just ridiculous. So then the guy obviously hears all these dogs barking at me, so he comes running out of his front door, And he's like, you know, suspicious of me. He's like, who are you? Why are you in my yard? Get out of my yard. I don't think he said get out of my yard, but he's just like, who are you? And so I start trying to explain the situation to him, but he was still so suspicious of me that I could tell like he wasn't believing me for whatever reason. So I pick up on the fact that he's like really suspicious of me. He doesn't really believe my story for whatever reason. So I'm just like, you know, I don't mean to bother you. I'm sorry to bother, but I just need you to tell me like, what is the name of the street? What is the name of the city? Because I'm explaining the situation to him and I'm like, I don't know where I am right now. And you know, I don't blame him because this story is unbelievable and ridiculous and just stupid. So he eventually, he tells me the name of the street and then he goes back inside of his house. And so I call my mom again and I tell her the name of the street and I ask her, can you please come pick me up from this area? And of course, like I said, my mom is like panicking. She's freaking out. Even as I'm trying to calm her down and tell her that I'm fine, she's like, now I've got my mom in like fight or flight mode. So eventually the guy like sees me just standing outside waiting. And so I think eventually he started like, I don't know, believing me. So, you know, he comes back outside, he offers me a bottle of water and he tells me to like come sit down on his porch. And I'm just explaining the whole story and the situation to him. And he's just like, you know, in disbelief. So yeah, guys, that's basically it. My mom eventually shows up after finding it really difficult to find this area. She shows up and she picks me up. Was this a trafficking incident? Was it just a stupid cab driver who was just unprofessional? I'll never know and I don't want to know. All I know is I'm so happy and thankful that I was able to get out of that vehicle. And like I said, if you are a woman or even a man, just always make sure to, before you get into any Uber, any Lyft, any cab, just make sure that you are always able to find exit points out of the vehicle. So I also wanted to mention that we ended up calling the cab company the next morning and explaining the incident to them. And they were so unapologetic about it. They didn't apologize. They kind of made excuses for her. And they also refused to give us her name or any information about this cab driver. So that was a little suspect as well. Yeah, guys, like that's basically it. Everyone who I've told this story to has told me like, yeah, you did the right thing by getting up out of there. And I agree. So yeah, guys, that is my story. And yeah, maybe I'll do a couple more story times and I'll catch you in the next video.